Your screen is correct. Yes, it's Friday night, but it's Wednesday night soccer on ESPN 3. Real Monarchs are at home, and it's 90 degrees. Perfect temperatures for Christmas in July. Zions Bank Stadium, brilliant Gem and Harriman playing site as they welcome the bottom-dwelling Tacoma Defiance in a Western Conference clash. Hi, everybody. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr on hand for the call this one. Devin, you see players walking out of the locker room. It seems like a different set of players every time these two teams take the field. It's tough to get consistency that way.
You'll notice that the play in general will lack a boatload of fluidity. You'll see glimpses here and there, but the movements up and down the pitch aren't as regular as what you'd like to see from a squad that's only rotating 15 or 16 players. If anybody's capable of maneuvering this, it's the guys in Chris Little and Martin Vasquez. The difference between Real Monarchs right now is that they've actually gone into a smaller rotation over the past few games, hence the 4-match win streak.
Well, 4 straight wins, and they are quietly a playoff team again.
Done it in a variety of ways as well, and you really have to pay respect to last week. There was some controversial refereeing, but nonetheless, they're able to get a 1-0 victory over the struggling but relevant Western Conference team in New Mexico United. You also take back a look at that 5-3 win over RGV on June 8th that got this all started. This has given them a quality amount of momentum. Now, interim manager Jamison Olave steps in. Can they continue forth?
Meanwhile, let's be honest, Tacoma this year has not been good. They've been bad. However, 2 straight draws on the road. They just have to take advantage of opportunities.
They started the season 2 wins in the first 5. And they had 3 losses in there as well. But in 7 of 18 matches this season, they have been relevant. Irrelevance is not in their vocabulary. These are some young players that are looking to gain experience. They hit that 70th minute mark. They were always within that 1 goal. Just have to find a way to close things out.
Well, they'll try and be defiant on the road. This is their 4th straight game away from home. And if they can get a win at ever treacherous Zions Bank Stadium, it'd be their best of the year. Tacoma and Real Monarchs coming up next. Onto the field at Zions Bank Stadium in Harriman, Utah. Wednesday night soccer on this Friday evening. Devin Kerr, Mike Watts, it's been over 100 days since Tacoma has won 4 straight wins for Real Monarchs. We take a look at the lineup for Jamison Olave. Not a lot of reasons to make too many changes, but a couple players departing for Europe changes everything.
Shocked that Josh Hurd and Andrew Brody are no longer involved in the mix. They get an opportunity to step across the pond. We'll dive into that deeper in a little bit. But familiar names, Conrad Plua in the center back position. Andrew Putna gets the opportunity in between the pipes, and the familiar face of Noah Powder at left back. And on the attacking side, they still have a massive amount of options. Douglas Martinez looks to continue his form. Hasn't at the back of the net on a regular basis, but he's great to play through up in that top and that number 9 position. Let's take a look at the visitors. Chris Little will lead this squad in the Tacoma Defiance. And what are they capable of? We always talk about the massive rotation when we get into these teams underneath MLS level squads. Alec Diaz up top. That's the main guy that they like to run through as well. Similar to what goes on through Douglas Martinez. He is a focal point. And Walla Buana, Gilroy, and Chavez in the middle. What will that rotation look like? Buana can be in that 10 spot a lot, but can rotate out. And then outside backs, Ulysses and Rubio. Will they get very high in this attack while having to challenge the midfield play of the Real Monarchs? That will be a key question for them.
Well, make no mistake, Douglas Martinez is all clear and ready to go now. So too our Tacoma Defiance. As we're nearing kickoff. Diaz will get the first touch on the ball. And here we go. Underway on Wednesday Night Soccer, Real Monarchs and Tacoma Defiance. Just how defiant can Tacoma be? 102 days without a win. And ironically, the last one came on April Fool's Day.
Club. Yeah.
Run all the way out. First touch of the ball for Andrew Putna.
I bet.
Let's go, boys! Play smart! Good work!
Turned over, running back Arriaga. There's Okumu. Jonathan Campbell. And Trey Muse, the netminder for Tacoma. Devin, they say a name can change a lot. Seattle Sounders, too, actually did have some decent success in the last few years. They put some really nice players into the Sounders system and some nice players elsewhere in USL Championship, as it turns out. But they changed the name, moved to Cheney Stadium last year. The name change came in January. The results have not followed. It's very uncharacteristic for an organization that works within the Seattle Sounders system.
They are at the forefront and the talking points within that youth movement where they are moving so many kids, and they really are, because you're getting 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds moving through Tacoma Defiance. But there is a bigger picture here, and that comes through the likes of Brian Schmetzer trying to find a way to promote them into the Seattle Sounders rotation of many amounts of talent they've gathered over the few years. Real Monarchs follow suit in that area, though when you talk to the big names and their organization, they will tell you a different story. They are quite proud of what they've built and been able to maintain, that they want to win trophies, remain competitive, and really still be that gap that bridges from Real Monarchs to Real Salt Lake. Mike Peckey's the man who starts all that up top, and can you find a way on a regular basis to remain relevant? You just take a look at their transition from 17 to 18 and now 19 in terms of points and results, and they've been able to navigate it quite well.
No wonder why you're always hot.
Campbell.
Doing the heavy stuff.
Kinseal. Rubio returns. The feet of Sam Rogers. Lost his footing. How quickly can Real Monarchs get forward now? Arriaga. Moving forward to the feet of Cashier. Sprays wide, Noah Powder. Noah Powder got a lot of positive praise from Hamasin Olave when we spoke to him this morning. Pena.
Let's go, Noah. Okay, keep him here. Higher, higher on Waller.
That's turned over to Atencio, 17-year-old, starred with their Develop Academy team. Chang helped to bring it down, kicked away from Cashier. And Burke Gilroy. It'll stay with Buana and Tacoma.
Brand new, you say? How much time do you have? Oh, no kidding. Okay, all right. Start somewhere, man. That's good.
Pressure,
Poor kid, that
Douglas.
would suck. He's brand new and thinking you're alone. Oh man, can you imagine that?
Enjoy it.
Like,
Run,
oh,
higher
what am I
tempo,
getting
higher
myself
tempo.
into?
Good, take your space, Johnny.
Campbell
Good work, good move.
steered aside with some relative ease. Plua goes back to Putna. Tomorrow marks 1 year since signing with the RSL. He was signed to the Monarchs after being drafted out of University of Illinois, Chicago.
Fun. Don't be
Away
too
by
narrow,
Atencio.
too soon.
No, we won't.
When we're
transport.
coming up, time you
No,
run to
another
get a
end
different
of
line.
movement.
Already you're seeing
You're already too narrow. And
some of the boys just rotate around a little bit here. Interesting to see
Transport.
international youth player for the U.S. Sam Rogers moving back into the middle of the park. Guy who Seattle Sounders organization, both at the academy level, then Sounders 2, obviously now Tacoma Defiance. And Brian Schmetzer with the Seattle Sounders themselves felt like he was going to work out as a center back. Thought they had great vision, nice speed, and that was some of that attacking movement that he acquired as a central midfielder. Looks like things haven't necessarily worked out on the defensive side, so he gets the nod back in the middle.
He was just talking about that today.
This week's been the hottest.
All lined across here. Chang play a little further out wide on that right-hand side due to the players that did leave for Europe.
Be deep enough.
A little further back. It is with the Monarchs here. James Moberg to throw.
Home always gets to first choice.
Played for Craig Wabel at Washington. Was actually drafted by the Astros as well. Moberg will get another throw.
Another half an hour, maybe. It'll be out of our way.
On a sun-soaked night in the Rocky Mountains, 90 degrees.
Come on, tight and go.
Santa's sleigh apparently parked just outside the stadium here, Dev.
Pretty sure I'm not on the nice list this year, at least at this rate.
Not again, huh?
Well, I don't think it's fair that we're talking about it in July. You know, you make some mistakes early on, but you get an opportunity to make
Penance,
amends
yeah.
until December. And, you know, that's fine. I'll just acquire my presence on the back end come the 25th this year.
Plua taking the space.
Yes, come on.
Powder, another guy with experience around the Red Bulls program. It's Plua again. Mike Pecky actually did coach him in New York. Things around the feet of Chang,
We do that well, don't we?
and he gets knocked off the ball successfully. Rubio in the midst of it. Quickly turned back over now. Pena, Cashier, gonna let it rip from there. Cashier, the no-look pass. Chang. Chang! Oh, he put it in off the bottom of the crossbar. Michael Chang! What a missile! Eighth minute, goal number 8 of the year for Chang.
One of the questions coming in to Jamison Olave was, how difficult is it for you, not only dealing with the rotation of players, but the movement on the right side to the boys departing in the likes of Josh Hurd and Andrew Brody? He said, you know what, normally I might be a bit concerned, but why can't I not just move Michael Chang out into that right flank and all is well? He's not wrong. All is well in the world. Lovely movement by Cashier into the middle of the field, takes a little no-look pass, and Chang understands that the minute that he cuts it back Both trailing midfielders have already started their run in the other direction. He just tees it up and puts it towards the far post. Actually catches the goalkeeper sleeping, brings it back towards the near post. Lovely little deflection off the woodwork, and an early lead for the homeboys.
Yeah.
And once again, Tacoma is playing from behind. 13 winless. They are 0-10 and 1 draw when they concede first.
And how interesting that it can be such a congested movement where Cashier comes across the field. A lot of times you'll see too many bodies in too small of a space for something like that to open up. But what happens when Cashier crosses over? Even though he plays the ball, he's occupying a second body and then a third when they drop back, thinking that maybe he'll get the secondary ball coming across. Chang recognizes this so that when he pulls it back across his body, he has a striking lane to go with. And there's a look at why we think the interim manager can help these boys out. Pretty much a 500 record after taking over last year for Mark Briggs, but he started hot. That 9-4-1 on the same path so far. Came out, got the 1-0 and the 3 points last week, looking to do the same and go 2-0.
Ball pinged forward. Muse uses his head. And Douglas Martinez will sprint over and look for a quick throw. So we're 10 minutes into this game. Tacoma trails after an 8th minute. Brilliant goal by Michael Chang. Tell me this, Devin. You say the goalkeeper fell asleep a bit. All in all, it looked like the line of confrontation wasn't all that poor. It looked like things were cycling wide. I'm sure as a defender, you must be disheartened. What more are we supposed to do as Muse makes this grab?
So there's a few things. You don't want to put a lot of blame on the goalkeeper here. The only thing you will say is that if you get beat partially to the near post, that's always a cause for concern. No manager is ever going to be happy, especially when it's rotated that far over on that side of the field. He's going to be hugging. Trey Muse will have an arm length within that near post. When he starts to rotate back across and this ball's hit at him, has to be able to get some sort of hand on the ball, deflection up over the top. The only other argument you're going to make is at the top of the 18, Michael Chang can't have 5, 6, 7 yards of space to pull that ball back across his body and create that much separation. That comes down to communication on the back line and the holding midfield. Can they find a way that when you have to switch players, when Cashier comes across, can you pass 1, 2, and 3 at a time and still maintain the shape? They weren't able to do so, and they made him pay for it.
Thomason Alave, former MLS Defender of the Year, looking on through what is a bright sun, the 4th official in the same boat.
But it was done before we got there. But still, same house. We took his mom.
Say this, gorgeous, gorgeous venue, Devin.
Played fireworks with mama's
The whole RSL training apparatus is out here. The field is the precise size of Rio Tinto Stadium. It's a turf surface, but you know as well as anybody, it's a highly scientific surface at that. Cashier knocks it along. Appeal for handball. Referee wags his head, says no.
It is one of the massive bright lights that they've put in here as you get a look at Chris Little staring into that bright light on the other side of the pitch that is this ridiculous glaring sun. No, we're not saluting the soldiers. That's just Chris Little trying to find a way to pay his respects to the energy that is this green stadium that Real Monarchs have tried to really institute out here. Can't really call it in the middle of the nowhere, but they take pride in it. Set on a 40-acre campus, Zions Bank Academy. An experience for front row fans, that front row seating never further than 5 yards apart from the field. They have solar panels over the top of the stadium to create clean, natural energy. And that surface you were talking about, Mike, it's called Greenfield's MX Trimension. It's a surface they brought over from a few Dutch clubs that they picked over in the Netherlands, and most people that have had the opportunity to play on it at other clubs as well feel like it's one of the best. We had the opportunity to pick the brain of a very intelligent gentleman from the organization and said, you know, it's part of massive structure we have.
That'll go running all the way through. Arriaga will give chase. cracked the other way and headed straight down by Burt Gilroy, and the follow goes off the stanchion, holding up that massive scoreboard. We were told Albert Rusnak actually played on it overseas, the RSL superstar. Not that that necessarily was chicken or egg.
Could be.
Could be.
Yeah, it's just interesting how it played itself out. And, you know, I'm a big advocate for when a club's being established, not relating all of this to the Real Monarchs, but how culture is so important and finding a way to make sure that all the proper utilities are there for players as well. And what we were leading you down there is they have an indoor facility that has over 220,000, yes, that number is correct, of playing surface. That not only is this artificial field you're seeing, but it mirrors dimensionally what's going on at Rio Tinto, so that they know exactly the distance of the surface will be similar to when you get the opportunity to play for Pecky and Real Salt Lake.
Just another day at the park.
Right.
Cashier, followed by Rogers. Holding mid, turned center back, turned holding mid.
That's definitely foul.
Missed that. We saw it. I'm not even a soccer person.
Powder,
Refs bias.
Martinez. Powder circled around at the feet of Mulholland. It's only his third appearance of the year. Started twice in the MLS Cup playoffs last year. Only played twice in the regular season for RSL. Injury plagued the man who's been there for 5 years, good and bad, for Real Salt Lake. 19 in black tonight. Ball hopping over the top. Chang brought it down, trying to lay that off for Mulholland. And turned over. Chang knew he was in an offside position. He retreats. Arriaga. Sprayed across. Powder. And now Tacoma try and counter through Buana.
1v1, wide fun, 1v1!
Ocampo Chavez.
1v1! Fudge! 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 Be confident, get at him! Come on!
It's a good shout from Chris Little, yelling at, you hear him saying Fonts. He's talking to Alfonso Ocampo Chavez. Had this ball that he was actually the one that went to ground on the initial tackle to then spring the attack going the other way. And as he receives the ball, his manager wanted to go 1v1, really challenge the outside back. Instead, they elect to pull it up and rotate back around. Well done to maintain possession, but you can hear it once again. Doesn't want him standing, want him always running downhill at this back line, especially when Real Monarchs like to get the outside back so involved in the run going forward.
Dev, you think about the role of Chris Little. Took over for John Hutchinson. Before that, it was Ezra Hedrickson. Both these teams have gone through a series of coaching changes for a variety of reasons over the last couple of years. But Little oversees the entire development apparatus for Tacoma. Both these organizations overwhelmingly state that they're trying to bridge the gap between their academy and their MLS side, and that the best place in town to get minutes for guys 17, 18, 19, and even those draft picks or guys who need to understand the system is this USL Championship side. And both have had good measures of success at times. Ball swung in toward the penalty spot, and it whittles wide. Douglas Martinez right at the goal mouth.
It's a good job by Trey Muse coming out and putting pressure on the speedy forward. Unfortunately, doesn't get anything on the ball, and you have to be wondering as to whether or not there should have been a late roll here. Pulls out a bit. Here's the footsteps. You can see Denso Ulysses on the backside. Just wondering, should he have gotten stuck in as well? And I think the most important thing you were leading down, Mike, was their ability to not only gain experience, but make the experience relevant, making sure that they're competitive in those matches and showing that, yes, we want to put these guys that, whether they're coming out of college or they're academy players, we want to put them an opportunity to figure out our system so that it is plug and play. When you get a chance to go to the Sounders or to Real Salt Lake, you immediately know your role. But those games have to have meaning behind them as well. You have to make sure that it's just not going for a walkabout. Okay, you know, we've done this, we've done that. Let's just go out and look for the individuals. No, you want a group effort. And unfortunately for Tacoma, that hasn't exactly been regular this year. But we did talk about their relevance, where they're just lacking a full package. They can get 60, 65, 70 minutes into a game. They just can't close things out, something that the Monarchs, especially recently, have been able to do.
Lest we forget, now they brought a lot of players from Seattle to Sacramento on their last win, April the 1st. But they have shown moments where they've competed at a high level. Trying not to fall behind further. We're in the 20th minute. Wednesday night soccer. Mulholland cutting around, laying this off now. The shot is on and saved. Muse denying Arriaga.
Lovely rotation, and with the glare, does this actually catch Muse? It catches the woodwork. Well done by the goalkeeper. It is that left side. Good rotation over. His former manager from Indiana, Todd Yeagley, is going to be very happy with that move.
I'm sending my prayers to the god of the sun, Ra, that it may set soon over these mountains. I'm not sure Noah Powder knows where he's going to be hitting this ball. He's just going to aim for the spot, perhaps.
That is one thing that we also have to account for on that opening goal. Not necessarily the shot, but as Muse is staring to his left, he's looking directly into the sun when this ball rotates back across and then has to come back into a shaded area. Really makes you second guess your movements.
Powder had her lifted over by Plua. Select is the official ball supplier of the USL Championship and many of the finest leagues in the world. And since 1947, Select has been the leader in soccer ball quality and innovation. For the latest Select products and special offers, please visit selectsportamerica.com. Como play out of the back. It was something we heard in the lead up to this game, that Tacoma does try and play the game the right way. They do try and play football. Sometimes a young team gets punished hard for doing that, but the eventual rewards they reap are oftentimes rather impressive.
I can tell you from firsthand experience, a couple years behind these boys, but at the youth level,
yeah,
basically rotating between the U12, 13, and 14 years where I would play up and guest play for the older squad. The older squad at that point in time was not better than the younger team. My younger team was stacked with state national team players. We would win state championships, go on and win all these tournaments. But to be fair, a lot of it wasn't necessarily pretty. I mean, we were just athletic and we would go out and beat teams, but the older team would put the ball on the ground and knock it around. Come to find out, started playing with them 16, 17, 18-year-old. They start to go to national championships. Actually made an opportunity where back then it was round robin, so you'd go to group play and then play out. But they were definitely coming down the stretch, guys that got the opportunities at the really big name schools. And one of them actually, a friend of mine, went on to play alongside a guy that you may have heard of. He played for the men's national team, played at Fulham, Tottenham.
Yeah, I think many Tacoma fans know who you're talking about. Martinez!
And for all those need that a multiple choice, that would be Clint Dempsey. And to find their own scoring prowess, once again on that right side, lovely ball taken down. How about Michael Chang and his technical ability? One little touch off the chest out in front of him, cutting it right back across in front of Douglas Martinez, trying to find the net and follow suit of the former Cuban international. Hit the back of the net for 7 times this year, both of them working towards double digits.
It is kind of funny when you think about it, because obviously Justin Portillo played so well for the Monarchs last year. Now you're talking about Michael Chang, 8 goals, leads the side, maybe playing the best ball of his career at this point, as Leo the Lion is taking pictures behind this throw-in. And then the different Red Bull players that you see around this Real Monarchs team. So the Charleston Battery well represented. Mike Peckey's former team well represented. You can see that the stylistic polls on where some of these players came from.
Come on, Denzo. Come on, Denzo.
This will come all the way out. Well, Campo Chavez got the cross away, but couldn't knock it in play.
How interesting of a talking point is it coming in where we talk about 30-plus players for the Monarchs, but over this win streak, they've only used 18.
Yeah.
So that gives you an idea of how much better it's been because of the consistency of players stepping onto the field and their ability to really create a bit more chemistry as Tacoma Defiance starting to work their way back into the match a little bit. Good movement down into the near channel and just a step out. It's about the third or fourth time that Chris Little has encouraged his center back, Jonathan Campbell, to push forward and take the space that's allowed in front of him. If the front line is going to drop off that deep, go ahead and have a run through it.
Well, there's a knock here. That is Chang. He actually defected to the U.S. from Cuba during World Cup qualifying in 2012 in Toronto. With that knock to the back of his ankle there. He came with Daniel Cordovez, Diesnel Cooper, who both ended up joining him at Charleston Battery. So left the country in Toronto, came into the United States, and has put together a nice career in the USL Championship. Will he be the next one up out of this Monarch side? 26th minute of play, 8th minute goal by Chang, the difference maker. To be fair, about a half dozen players defected from the 2019 Gold Cup team that made the trip to the U.S. On the turn here, Cashier. The angle tightened up on him, and Muse makes the grab.
It's a difficult one for Cashier as it's coming across his body. He's got a boatload of pace, and as he brings this down, tries to open up his hips. And you want to try and push this to the far post, so the angle quickly disintegrates with Campbell coming over. Pressure still being applied by Denzel Ulysses on that back shoulder. It's one where either you really put a lot of swerve behind it, tuck it in just inside that far post, or you pull it back and try and find a trailing run. He does neither.
Lying down, headed away from Anwala Buana. He's got a fun game coming up in his near future.
Just got selected to the 2019 MLS homegrown game. He'll join quite a few familiar faces to take on Liga MX's Chivas Guadalajara. The U20s at least on July 30th. He'll be at the ESPN Wide World of Sports. Some familiar names here. David Ochoa from Real Salt Lake. Monarchs players will know him. Sam Vines of the Colorado Rapids. He's had a nice little season. But Justin Rennicks in the New England Revolution. I'm sure that most of the Tacoma Defiance would like to get involved here. A little nudge on the backside. Always nice of the Monarchs players to make themselves friendly with Tacoma Defiance.
Excuse me, I'm looking over your shoulder over here at the roster. There's some good ones. Brendan Aronson out of Bethlehem Steel has had a very nice year.
Bucio's in there.
From Sporting Kansas City and Swope Park.
Been a Brandon Cervania sighting from Dallas FC.
Yeah. Dallas FC.
See what I did there?
Yeah. North Texas Soccer Club.
Yeah.
Dumped over the top. Martinez. Muse backs in. Martinez. That'll deflect off of Campbell. Call the air out of the ball there, and Muse handles it with ease.
Douglas Martinez is going to wonder what could have been. Let's see how clean he catches this ball. Very nicely done. Unfortunately, can't get it inside the player, but caught it square. That's one of the ones that'll start to knuckle from about 20 yards out. Really challenge Trey Muse.
All spotted out wide. And a step in by Burkholz. Third round pick of the Sounders out of SDSU. Just in case you thought I was meaning South Dakota State, I meant San Diego State SDSU.
I was worried.
Yeah, an Aztec.
Appreciate the clarification.
Exciting times in Southern California too. San Diego is going to have a USL Championship club of their own, and Landon Donovan's going to be spearheading the project. Warren Smith from Sacramento's early formative days, lead executive there. Hey fans, you can follow Tacoma, Real Monarchs, another team in the USL Championship all season long. On ESPN Plus, it's your home, the USL Championship, USL League One, MLS, UFC, and more. Join the over 2 million sports fans who've already discovered ESPN Plus. You can watch the championship live every week. Sign up today, ESPNplus.com. Sadly, I suppose for some, ESPN Plus was home to the Open Cup this week. New Mexico and St. Louis both jettisoned from the competition.
Mexico United was escorted out in a bit of a different manner than St. Louis FC was. St. Louis kept it relevant right up until added time, where Joseph Martinez netted the second of the night for Atlanta to make it a 2-0 win. Fortunately, New Mexico United, a bit more of an issue, where it seems like the first half, the floodgates were wide open for Minnesota United and the run that they've been on. 6 unbeaten now in all competitions well played.
I've just been handed a news bulletin. I'll get to that in a moment regarding that Minnesota United game. Martinez. Covered by Arriaga. Moberg. Arriaga again out of the RSL Academy, over 50 goals. Moberg drives the cross. It's by Martinez. Rolls all the way out. We want to congratulate Vice President Broadcasting for the United Soccer League, Brad Baker, the entire Baker family, on the birth of Noah Madison Baker. Born Tuesday, July 9th. He was the broadcast executive at Minnesota United when they made the move to Major League Soccer. Mom Elizabeth and Noah doing great. We're all excited for the league's newest fan. Let the bidding commence to find out who he will be a fan of, though. I'm sure Brad is currently accepting offers for that.
Yeah.
You like Leo the Lion? Real Monarchs. You're a fan of maritime logos? Tacoma Defiance. I mean, there are any multitude of ways you could figure this thing out.
Interesting little matchup in the middle of the field with Anthony Burke-Gilroy and Jordan Pena going on. Gilroy not happy. He's a bit frustrated, to be honest, of all the running he's had to do with lack of production not coming on the offensive end. There's a good look at Ever Rubio on the far side going to ground. Signed him tail end of March. Guy that's come over from Resurgence FC. I feel like he is an experienced center back that they've now moved into that outside position. Going forward, just doing battle on the far side with Michael Chang. Bridges him a bit, falling flat on that right shoulder.
I mentioned it, Rubio coming out of the Ascenso division in Mexico. Terrible turnover. Martinez, Lumbers joining him. Martinez lost the angle. Kept in play for Chang. Cashier. Mulholland. It's a great ball to find the space. And Martinez lashes across. Mulholland comes out to Moberg. Attack continues for the Salt Lake side. And a throw as it comes careening off Buana. Throw by Moberg. Martinez. Cashier. Ushers it back to Powder. Monarchs have had a majority of the possession so far, and pretty good possession at that.
The midfield is taking an interesting shape where they've allowed Luke Mulholland to play a bit higher, almost turned it into a 4-3-3 of sorts with an inverted triangle in there. Jordan Pena sitting in the 6th spot, really providing the bridge. Mulholland doing a good job just tracking back now when they're going forward. It's a good move by Arriaga out of the middle, and Mulholland just freeing up the likes of Cashier on the left and Chang on the right. Like to see a bit more balance out of the boys in the black jerseys this evening. So utilizing that right side a bit more than probably needed be.
When I watch Tacoma take possession, Devin, I can't help but think how high those fullbacks got in a very short amount of time. For a team that's leaked more goals than any team in the USL Championship this year, I think a lot of teams would maybe consider being a little more defensive in shape, even in possession. Headed forward, Martinez. Oh, that's an excellent finish. A laser beam into side netting, 2-0 to the Monarchs.
You set me up for the next talking point, Mike, but Tacoma Defiance set themselves up to fail in such a situation with Douglas Martinez and the ball out in front. There's the high run. Burkholz trying to track back across as Eva Rubio no longer present on the left side. It's a track run the entire way, 60 or 70 meters to get from one end to the other on that big right foot of his. We saw what Chang was able to do with a bit of space. Give Douglas Martinez a bit more and he'll make you pay. Would he be able to match the Cuban's pace early on? Yes, he can. 7 on the night. And just like that, Monarchs out in front by 2.
36th minute. I had a stat for you about conceding first. They haven't won yet. I'm going to have another stat for you, and it's not promising for the Defiance. Putnam playing through pressure. This is a much higher line of confrontation from Tacoma. Real Monarchs have quickly gotten by it. This year, Tacoma is 2 wins, 3 draws when they allow 1 or 0 goals. So when they allow 2 or more, 0 wins, 11 losses, and 2 draws.
And one of those draws was recently. It was actually their only comeback for any points this season. That was against that Fresno team, 3-3 draw a few weeks ago, where in the dying moments, they were able to get something out of nothing. Unfortunately, just very difficult to replicate. They'll thank Justin Dillon for that one. And you had actually really started me down that direction where I was going to say, listen, with the outside backs and how high they're playing, they stick to themselves. That is part of their philosophy, and they don't usually stray away from it, much like the talking point right around the 25th minute mark of how they want to get players accustomed to the style of the Seattle Sounders. That's what they like to do under Brian Schmetzer, is get those guys going forward. Whether it's 1, 2, 3, up or behind, they always stick to their big guns. Unfortunately, it gets him in trouble at times, and it's exactly what happened with Douglas Martinez when he got him behind the back line.
And I've talked to coaches around this league and even those from outside the league. who have a lot of great things to say about Chris Little. I don't know that he's doing anything other than what's anticipated from him. Arriaga. The switch completed to Cashier. This turned over, handled by Ocampo Chavez. Further by Atencio. Steered aside to Campbell. Get updates and alerts all year long. Follow your club on ESPN.com. Search for Tacoma or Real Monarchs, and then click the follow button. Keep up with the latest news, scores, get reminders on your team's next home match. Go to ESPN.com now and click follow for your club. That'll run out. Putton has got a goal kick. Doing there from Ulissi. Ulissi's on the ball again. Shoved off by Arriaga. This will be a goal kick. Hey, Devin, there's some dance moves that have been going on for these Real Monarchs goals. This is goal number 1.
Respect that. From a seated position, mind you.
Major key.
I'll give him an 8.3. See, when you get him going with the flag, you have to give more points. Anytime you bump it up to the international level, it adds an added variability that's higher up on the Richter scale.
See, you're saying that, but I don't think he gets points for somebody else's flag.
If you make your way into the vicinity and start dancing around it and you're not kicked out or punched, then you got to give him credit.
Oh, the Honduran flag out and about for Douglas Martinez. Trouble brewing, kicked away. They felt like he was a really prolific scorer for any age in CONCACAF, much less the one he was in. 4 years at Vita in Honduras, trialed at Red Bull, loaned to their USL side, and ultimately now with the Monarchs. Push here.
This has been a fun little matchup on that side. A lot of what's gone on in the final third for Michael Chang has actually occurred in the opposite direction of Ever Rubio, and that's a bit contradicting because it is on the same side, but Rubio playing that high line when he's dropping back. You're seeing a lot of Alex Burkhold sliding over, challenging Chang, Bawana helping as well. Anytime it has squared up for the Mexican with Michael Chang, been a fun little battle.
Cashier. Nearing halftime. 2-goal lead for the Monarchs. At the break, Devin and I'll break down the latest news and notes from around the league, tell you about what's coming up on our USL Wednesday night soccer extravaganza. I believe our next one is on Wednesday, Dev.
But a couple occur, including this evening on off nights, but an opportunity to really showcase the true meaning of Wednesday night soccer. Had some fun matchups so far.
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of teams choose to rotate on the weekend this year and leave us some of the better matchups over the course of the year. This will deflect out, find its way for a corner. There's Chang, say a tremendous leader in Charleston, making a move onto the Monarchs. Chang swinging in. Mulholland kept it alive. That'll work. Mulholland. A lot of white shirts. Cashier has found Douglas Martinez on the other side. Arriaga, Cashier. Covered by Buana. Mulholland took it away, flicks it forward. Here comes Martinez again. He's looked exceedingly dangerous. Cross deflected. Martinez nearly dragged it through. If he had, been through on goal. Rogers playing direct. A little trouble percolating in the back. Pushing forward, Diaz. Knocked down, Patna. He'll sprint over and rein it in. 1 minute at a time. Maybe another 30 seconds here. Arriaga won the ball. Arriaga trotting forward. Martinez. Monarchs will take their sweet time. May even be content taking this, the intermission, 2-0. That's exactly what they'll do. Devin, very good half from Real Monarchs, and just too many mistakes on the road from Tacoma.
Just comes down to individual battles. You take a look at the youngsters in the middle and the likes of Jordan Pena and Luis Arriaga. They're just winning the matchups against Atencio, Rogers, and Buana, and they're doing it alongside Luke Mulholland, who's obviously a seasoned veteran. Have to find a way in the second half for Chris Little's squad to start taking advantage of some of those and really counterpunching this Real Monarchs squad.
Well, this might be a first half knockout. 2-goal lead for Real Monarchs. Tacoma has struggled to recover from these kinds of deficits this year when the sun was high and shining. Michael Chang in the 8th and Martinez in the 36th. Monarchs by 2 at the break. Welcome back to Harriman, Utah. It is halftime, and Real Monarchs are dancing over Tacoma Defiance at the break. A 2-goal advantage. We thought we'd take a moment and send our congratulations. We want to congratulate Vice President of Broadcasting for the USL, Brad Baker, the entire Baker family, the birth of Noah Madison Baker, born late on Tuesday, July the 9th. Mom and Noah doing great. We're excited for the league's newest fan. And the rumor is Noah is a Tacoma Defiance fan. All the best, Noah, and all the best to the Baker family. When we come back, we'll get you ready for what lies ahead in this match and what we've seen so far. But first, let's get you ready for the next USL Championship game of the week, Wednesday Night Soccer, Loudoun and North Carolina FC.
Nice little cut in. Here's a terrific effort. Blasted back in, and it's a goal for North Carolina FC. What a rip from Connor Presley as Ben Spees lets one fly and drills it. Slides out the way and in.
The boys in purple have dominated.
Ownby charging on, curling across. That's excellent from Martinez. His first goal in Louisville College. What a finish for Louisville. They lead.
Cicerone again hitting the cross with Pace Greg. And there's one. The response from Kyle Greg. Russell Cicerone with tremendous service in the second half.
Not statistically kept unless you're keeping a track on mileage. Does a lot off the ball to draw space for his teammates.
Collier weaving his way through. Elliot Collier for the hat trick. There it is! Elliot Collier. It's a great opportunity again here for the Hounds.
He goes for goal.
Oh, what a shot! What a goal!
Right to party on the 4th of July. What a wonderful.
And when the emotion starts to flow, everyone starts to settle in. Then you can push forward and press the goal.
Rios off the post and in. What a missile that is. Goal number 11 of the year in Rios with a phenomenal finish.
Jamison can give it a go from there if he wants. Jamison is it back to Billy Forbes. Billy, right foot. Billy puts it in the back of the net.
What a great week in the rearview mirror and a great one ahead in the USL Championship. Real Monarchs of Salt Lake City, 2-goal lead over Tacoma Defiance with Devin Kerr, Mike Watts. Devin will be heading over to sit with Caribbean Santa soon enough. He's off on vacation in Salt Lake City, making his trek around the world. Salman Asante, 7 goals, most of any player in June in the championship, a deserved player of the month.
Guy's on fire. That whole team is on fire, to be honest, and they'll get an opportunity this weekend against RGV to challenge, actually, the Real Monarchs of 2017 in their 9-match win streak. That was the best in the West at that point in time. How about Ottawa? Trying to find a way to really make their mark on the USL Eastern Conference this year, though opening up the Canadian crown quite nicely so far. If they're winning the Canadian Championship, they will take on Lou City, who is 4-1-4 in their last 9 on this Sunday. 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Let's take a look at what's coming up on Wednesday Night Soccer. Devin, Dave Sarakin's side proving exceedingly unbeatable at home in Cary.
Impressive. Orange County up and down. Ian Russell has Reno back on track. The Quails. What do we think about Sacramento Republic and how they were on that nice little run? Even the beautiful performance against Fresno wasn't enough as Fox is able to get out and nick them on the past game. Mexico United, can they recover in 2 weeks' time, coming out of that loss in Open Cup to challenge El Paso Locomotive and Mark Lowry's boys. That'll be a real interesting one.
Meanwhile, Las Vegas, Eric Winalda did something pretty cool. Go check Hercules Gomez Twitter. Really cool stuff. Western Conference standings, there's Phoenix, and there is currently everybody else.
It's just interesting how some teams at the top get an opportunity when Phoenix go on a run to try and keep pace. Maybe some other ones moving up. No, I mean, pretty much everyone has faltered off their form. And we just talked about the New Mexico United El Paso Locomotive game. Remember, Sebastian Velasquez, a former Monarchs player, recently signed with El Paso Locomotive. Keep an eye on that.
You and I both huge Sebastian Velasquez fans, and we're excited to see him back in the league. It's Monarchs 2, Defiance 0. Some really nice goals in the first half. We'll show you both when we come back. It's a real family affair tonight, Zions Bank Stadium in Harriman. It's up in the mountains and a gorgeous venue, opened a year ago plus, and Tacoma struggling to find their footing. With Devin Kerr, Mike Watts, here are your first half highlights. And Devin started early for Real Monarchs. They were ahead inside 10 minutes with Michael Chang, the go-ahead goal.
Didn't take very long, did it? Lovely play on display for the entire opening 45 minutes, but notice the nice little giveaway. Good little step up by Pena. Really thought he brought a lot of positive play coming out of the middle of the field. Great little touch out, interchange, Cashier, the no look, and Chang, the cutback here. Notice when he brings it back across his body, the trailing run from the central midfielder does not step in. It allows a pretty decent amount of pace when he comes back across his body, picks out right around down the center. That was a cause for concern. Trey Muse, you see him rotating there, can't get a hand on it. As a goalkeeper, you have to find a way to get some sort of touch on it to help out your back line. That's not the case. We'll progress a bit further. 36th minute, we move a bit further. 18th, excuse me. This is the one where it comes back across the middle to Douglas Martinez from Chang. Chang was a bright light on the entire side, right in front of that sun. Once again, pulls it back across. This time, no shot. It's distribution form. Neither one can get a touch on it. Trey Muse would bail them out a little bit. Watch when this ball comes back across, and you have to wonder how much of an influence is the sun having on him. He gets this one right, though. There's going to be an unload from Arriaga right at the top of the 18. Great save by the goalkeeper coming back across his body. Pretty much two more chances. One would come a la Michael Chang once again. Really like the movement coming off of this ball. Watch him pluck this out of the air with his chest. Good little distribution in by Mulholland. Out in front of him. Great positive first touch. Second one's going to come back across the body. Martinez trying to pick out the near post. Unfortunately, form falters him just a bit. And that would sail just over the top of the near post. Trey Muse can breathe a sigh of relief. Unfortunately, it wouldn't last very long as Martinez was calibrating all the technical footwork that we saw in the first half from Real Monarchs. Lovely ball back. And then the distribution. Goalkeeper understands you can play quickly out of the box, but it's the long ball that gets the back line in trouble here. Mike Watson talked to us about the high play from the outside backs. Ever Rubio leaves the back line exposed. Burkhold can't rotate over. Jonathan Campbell trailing. And guess who? Martinez once again an opportunity. Saw Michael Chang get his 8th. Martinez lays pace. He gets his 7th. And Real Monarchs out in front by 2.
And we'll show you the numerical breakdown of this first half. Passing accuracy, 86%, 55% possession for Real Monarchs, as they are very clearly the dominant side.
The outside back struggling a little bit, especially on that far side with Rubio playing so high. We mentioned that the center backs have to find a way to rotate over a little bit. That just comes down to communication. But for me, it's in the middle. It's Burke Gilroy, Buana, Atencio, and Sam Rogers. Can they find a way to really counteract what Real Monarchs are throwing at them? Really like the play out of Arriaga, Mulholland, and Pena and what they've been able to do. They have picked the central part of this midfield apart against Tacoma Defiance.
As we take a look at what lies ahead. Begin with the Monarchs. A couple games on the road, El Paso and a rising San Antonio team. You look at the next 4 games, and if the Monarchs are for real, you'd expect them to take, what, 8, 10 points out of that? That would really, I think, show everybody something.
When you include this game, they're actually playing, so that's 6 games total, including tonight. They're actually playing 5 out of arguably the worst, in terms of points, 6 teams in the Western Conference. We talk about Phoenix rising in the run that they're on. They have a really good chance, based upon their play right now, to challenge and continue to pick up points. And you never know, come a month and a half from now, we could talk about a record in the likes of the Real Monarchs.
Tacoma is headed back to Cheney Stadium, and they'll try and get this thing back on course. Las Vegas, Oklahoma City, Orange County.
It's a tale of a different tape for them, isn't it? They're going to be playing the who's who in the Western Conference. And just, you know, continue to gain experience for this young squad. Here's a good look at youngster Arriaga, one of the teenagers in the middle of the midfield for Real Monarchs. And there was an interesting rotation for Tacoma Defiance just before half. Burke Gilroy had actually gone out to the far left side. Buana had come into the central location. That's where we've become a bit more accustomed over the past year and a half or so of seeing him. 10 appearances this year for the Seattle Sounders, actually compiled 13 in 2018. So looking to keep his progression moving forward. And you just wonder what changes will be made for the squad coming into the second half, if any.
Joel Rydstrand has come in at the break for Tacoma Defiance. They trail by 2 goals, and in the white jerseys, move right to left in the second half of play. Ball crossed. Vasquez crossing, nothing doing there. Vasquez came in at the break. This ball lofted across, nothing doing there. Julian Vasquez, local native, out of Brigham City, Utah. His hometown is Nibley. Signed as a homegrown player in October. Ever Rubio, the player, came out for Rydstrand.
Pick up speed, I'm
Ball's got to play that ball. Good little movement back out, and has the opportunity to play it down into this near channel. A lot of pace out in front of the overlapping run coming from Burke Gilroy, who we mentioned had rotated to that far wing position.
It's Buana. Pokes it forward, and that will not be Tacoma's first open play cross of the game. The Monarchs had 11 in the first half, and they looked more often than not pretty dangerous.
Upon initial review here, we'll try and survey it a bit further. Looks like they might have rotated Burkhold's out to the left. That looks like the shape they will have, with Sam Rogers dropping back in next to Jonathan Campbell. So everybody kind of shifting to the left here, with Rubio coming out. Rydstrand will occupy Sam Rogers. Smart in the middle of the field next to Atencio to see if they can grasp some of that control that Monarchs had so readily available in the opening 45 minutes.
Contained by Ulysses. There's Muse. Call him the modern kind of goalkeeper out of Indiana. Spinning out of the challenge. Kumu following Burt Gilroy.
He's gone with both feet, left the ground.
It's a good shout from the sideline. It's Tacoma Defiance. Didn't like it here. Burt Gilroy is starting to grow into this game, and he's right. He does lead there. Just wonder if Kumu gets a stern talking to.
And, you know, I think a lot of people talk about it from time to time, but it doesn't enter the conscious of people that are watching. He didn't make a ton of contact there, but that doesn't make it anything less than an exceedingly dangerous challenge if he does. It's not always about the damage that you do as much as what you actually did.
You have to understand that the laws of the game dictate that the intent can be ungentlemanly conduct, whether you make contact or not. And that's something that's actually become quite a topic of conversation at multiple levels this year. And it should be, because to your point, Mike, you can overstep your boundaries, not necessarily, you know, really lay a pounding on someone. That doesn't mean you weren't in the wrong. And we've seen referees step out and go, hey, I saw it, and they'll warn guys, but they'll also track back, let play come on, and they'll even go after guys and get them into the book, go after them with a card and say, listen, you know, that's not okay. You have to understand that these are put in place for a reason, and more often than not, it is safety for these players. And so we've even seen penalties calls in similar situations, especially at the MLS level.
Well, Devin, I've seen people go slack-jawed, whether it be you or Taylor Twellman, saying, well, you don't need to make contact for it to be a foul. Mulholland! Caught by Muse. If he hammers that home, we can all call it a night.
Looking for number 3 out of number 13 coming to the midfield, the Englishman, 30 years of age. Over 100 appearances for Real Salt Lake. And just trying to show the youngsters how it's done.
Yeah, still only 30 still, and re-signed over the offseason. Had never missed a game in his career due to injury. He had been on the bench for other reasons, but last year injury plagued. Ended up starting a couple playoff games. I'm sure everybody in Salt Lake is happy to see him back on the field. I'm sure this is a nice moment for a lot of these players playing with a guy like Mulholland, who's been there, done that, won the t-shirt. Buana. That's booted away from Burt Gilroy.
I was just going to say, for all the positive reinforcement that I gave to Pena and Arriaga in the first half, you have to understand that that comes out of the veteran in the midfield, occupying space that the youngsters might not necessarily been picking up. There's always the opportunity that when Pena decides he wants to go, you have to have someone who recognizes, okay, now I have to hold in the 6th spot. Exactly what Luke Mulholland has given them the opportunity to do.
That's a tug by Mulholland, a gentlemanly hand grab. Right strand splayed out.
And he knows what he's doing. Professional foul there. Right strand really providing some nice energy coming on. At halftime, he has sparked some positive play for this Tacoma Defiance squad going forward. Tried to pull the trigger as well.
So this will fall to Buana. And it'll be with the Monarchs. Devin, we heard it earlier today from Jamison Alave, the confidence, right? In the past, maybe some personal mistakes or a missed chance, or maybe you lose and you don't feel you deserve to lose, but you get one win and confidence starts to grow. This could be 5 straight victories for the Monarchs. It seems like they do this in the middle of the year, every year go on a run like this.
You have to understand that with Olave stepping in as the interim manager. He didn't start this run. I mean, they turned it around themselves and started to get going. Unfortunately, the club just heading in an opposite direction with regard to Martin Vasquez stepping out. And when you have those principles in place where it starts from the top and moves its way down, that's why the belief is always ever present. And as the wins start to tick away, it starts to grow in you, like a seed blossoming into a beautiful tree over the years. And that's exactly what's going on for the Real Monarchs right now. When you pick off 1, 2, 3, 4, then it just becomes second nature, where you see some really impressive play side to side going forward. They pretty much showcased everything so far tonight.
All fired over the top. That'll run out. You see in the background there a sign with the profile of Mark Briggs, the former coach. He resigned in May 2018 after issues of domestic violence came up. Those charges were later dropped. The fans have been quite vocal. I don't think it's a negative commentary at all about Jamison Olave. I think fans in Salt Lake and New York and really all over MLS have a tremendous amount of respect for him. And he told us, I want to be a head coach. If the job were offered to me, I'd accept it and try and grow into that role. Very different scenario with Martin Vasquez leaving as opposed to the way Mark Briggs had resigned the year prior. And I think a lot of people are waiting to see when Mark Briggs is going to earn his next job, given how well he did with the situation at Real Monarchs, and also how well he coached before that. He was with Wilmington before that. Moana knocking it across. Ridestrand had an idea. That pittered out. All the way to the byline. First cross of the game for Tacoma is incomplete.
It's a good shout, and you can actually go a bit further to the USL community in general. You can branch further than that, but when you talk to coaches in the USL Championship, so much respect for Mark Briggs and what he was able to do, and you just wonder who's going to be the next lucky one with his coaching abilities to really take full grasp of it and put out in the spotlight, maybe take on one of their squads and put them on a nice run, because there is so much brilliance of him as a manager. And anyone that you ask will tell you, with all the talent that he has, he will end up somewhere.
Right up the spine of Tacoma here. Burkholz. Cross wound through. It's out of the reach. Burke Gilroy. But recovered in the corner. Tacoma with a goal could be right back in this thing. Buana. Santa left.
He's got deliveries to make. They're hoping one of those comes in the forms of a Tacoma Defiance goal. I'm sure the Real Monarchs fans aren't looking in that direction. It has been much better opening 10 minutes for the visitors. Love the movements coming out of Joel Ridestrand in the middle of the field. You can see that the midfield has started to take a different shape for Tacoma, and that was really what they were lacking.
And here comes Monarchs pushing forward. Shot saved off the foot of Julian Vasquez. When he came in, they announced, welcome back, Julian Vasquez.
That's one of those substitutes trying to make an impact and really make a name for himself under the interim manager. Lovely speed on display.
Play, Sam! Inside. Yes. Douglas, detrás del balón, Douglas. Tranquilo. Berkey.
This is a much more settled, possession-oriented Tacoma side than the first half. Color me impressed. Atencio laying off. Buana. Buana, the shot handled by Putna.
I told you coming in, this team can move the ball. We've seen it multiple times. Was actually impressed with them for about a 25-minute stretch when they traveled to Phoenix Rising. Unfortunately, like this game did in the first half, that one got away from them. And that's where they just need to stay within striking distance. You keep a squad within arm's reach and have that belief that we talked about on the Real Monarchs winning streak. Same thing for Tacoma Defiance. They're starting to grow within this game, maintain possession. All they need is that one little window of opportunity, challenge it, and get back into this match.
Vasquez, Martinez, settles Moberg at the flex and flies out. Corner Monarchs, 58 minutes gone. The trees are making their way in.
My favorite part of the game.
Okay.
Really felt like a team member when I got that 20-second spurt.
Header is lifted away after Hukomu made contact. Arriaga, second effort. Will whistle all the way through, deflected on the way, another corner. You're the only guy within our little broadcast camaraderie who makes Conrad Plua look short.
A bit taller.
6'3", you're 6'5" and 3/4. What are you?
He's 6'4" and 5/8. The license, government issued, mind you, is 6'5".
Cross, and that steered wide. Okumu trying to go over the top, and he may have a clear argument here. That came off the chest of a Tacoma defender.
It's a little nudge as well. Watch the rotation onto the backside by the center back. Very well done. And I love how he goes to attack this ball. That's something you don't see a lot of times out of the defensive players, and especially one who's just in his young 20s. Great little design set piece for the Kenyan, rotating to the far post, and when he goes up for the header, he's driving into it. That's what you technically see out of a lot of strikers going after it. Lovely little movement.
Komu's already been capped with the Kenyan national team. Time at AFC Ann Arbor in the NPSL. Has received some pretty significant recognition along the way. 60 minutes gone. Monarchs a 2-goal lead over the Defiance. And on the turn, how many cracks will Monarchs need to expand the lead? They're pushing forward again. This cut out by Denso Ulissi. Nearly put it out for a corner, instead slid out for a touch. Rather, two-touch line. And it'll be a throw after this change.
Atencio!
Alex Burkholz comes out, and Nick Hines comes on.
That makes sense. You've got a center back that is rotated out underneath Anthony Burke-Gilroy, and now you bring in a true left back in the likes of Nicholas Hines, the Jamaican, who carries a bit more speed and will give them another option attacking going forward, but also maintain the ability to track back and challenge Michael Chang.
Up, up, up!
Throw coming for Powder. Ooh, big collision. Leaping into that. There's going to be a yellow card here. Martinez is shaking his head as he walks away. Sort of leapt into Atencio, didn't he?
I just wanted to make sure that Atencio's taking Burkholz's man on corner kick. Yep. And hey, Nick's taking Atencio, so make sure that gets sorted out.
It's a better look at the challenge on the far side of the field. That's a lot of momentum coming through. Just running right through Joshua Atencio. Douglas Martinez tracking back over. Not enough credit was paid to the forward a moment ago, where you keep an eye on him defensively, just like he is right now, tracking back into the middle of the field to cut off the outlet pass. That's been some of the positive play coming for Defiance, where the midfielders are making themselves available. Now what you're seeing, though, holding midfielder having to come much further back. And it's really given the opportunity for the Monarchs to play a higher line. There's going to be a gap in the middle of the field as now you're seeing Atencio drop in between the center backs, trying to create three that allow the outside backs in Nicholas Hines and Ulysses on the right and left respectively to get up and down a bit higher. Seen a bit of success there, and they look to continue on.
Ball headed back toward Mulholland. And recovered here by Tacoma. Effort to poke it wide. Diaz, second time the charm. Hines. Buana. Buana keeps, fires. And that deflects. A leaping effort by Putna would have been necessary as that was curling toward the corner.
Another one that's really helped them out here is Burke Gilroy coming out to the left and Buana going into the middle. Buana had initially been on the left wing and starting to make himself feel a bit more comfortable in the middle of the field, creating opportunities and supplying some chances of his own.
The corner headed initially by Rogers. Ton of English on that. And Mulholland with a simple touch to settle things down for the Monarchs. And out the other way, Vasquez outrun for this. Look at that speed from Ulysses. That is some recovery speed right there, goodness. Ulysses, the Haitian Caribbean Cup under 20, best 11.
Come on, Nick!
3 seasons playing for this S2, now Tacoma Defiance side. Hines. Ball whipped across. Devin, this is unrecognizable from Tacoma compared to the first half.
We told you that they can give you glimpses. The problem is the full package has never been there. A lot of times you'll see them fade through games so that when they start to trail, get within that 30, 40-minute mark coming into the second half, the efforts start to tail off. That's not the case. They started a bit flat and really look a lot better. And the Monarchs aren't drawing back either. They are trying to go after this young squad. But Chris Little boys are definitely a bit more invigorated here in the second half.
How much of that has to do with the fact the Monarchs came out of the break with a 2-goal lead? The way they've chosen to attack this game in the second half.
They're definitely not going 100 miles an hour, pumping balls into the wings like we saw in the first half, but they're not packing it in either. And you can see that they are taking their opportunities to push the numbers forward. It's just a bit more sparingly than what we saw. Good opportunity right now where first half they would push that line a lot higher. Not the case anymore. So they are sitting, but that's also a testament defensively. Can they maintain their shape when they've compacted it? Not the case so far.
Hines, the left back, his freshman year at Akron, then played as a number 10. And blasted back, Martinez does it all on his own. The hold-up play. Arriaga by Chang. Vasquez. That deflect shot off the post, off the head and in. Martinez, another phenomenal goal. 3 bangers for the Monarchs.
You asked me in the first half if Trey Muse could have done anything else here when the back line had done so well. There is a vicious tackle right there at the top of the 18 that is put in by Joshua Atencio. Unfortunately, the ball deflects to the outside and not enough pressure is applied. Watch this. Lovely going to the ground. Just a nice little bounce for Martinez, who doesn't catch it perfect. To be fair, it's just to the left of Trey Muse. Muse, though, reacting from the initial strike, has to then regain his composure, rotate to his right to set up for this as the ball comes back across the 18, only to then go to his left, reshift once again, and can't get enough on it. Douglas Martinez gives them a bit of breathing room.
Remember when I said Michael Chang led the team with 8 goals? Martinez now has 8. We saw a Honduran flag out in the crowd. Such a prideful football country. We'll run all the way. And he's smaller than this guy, but I've watched him so much in Champions League, a Honduran star over the last decade plus. He never played for Vida, which was the club where Martinez came out of. But the way he runs and presents himself and the toughness he exudes, he feels a bit like Carlo Kosli of Olympia and Marathon, and I mean that in the most positive fashion possible. But that's the thought that keeps running through my head with the limited scope of Honduran football that I've gained through CONCACAF League and CONCACAF Champions League over the last 3-4 years.
I'll give you credit, buddy. That's not a bad shout. You're actually not far off on that. And that would take me a minute or two to get there. And the fact that that immediately popped to your mind, I respect that analogy.
I Googled it, but well, because I was thinking, okay, how big is he compared to Kosli? And it hit me midway through the game here. Kosli's 6'3".
6'1", right?
Trouble brewing here. Buana forcing his way through. Off the face of Patna. The attack not over yet. Atencio! Ooh, he bounces up and down like he knew he had that.
Would have liked to have seen him hit this on the second touch when this ball comes out. Lovely save by Patna, by the way. He and Trey Muse are unfortunately giving up a few deflections, not necessarily their fault. One touch right there. I wanted him to hit there because when he takes it on the third one, there's actually a quick little rotation. The window starts to close. He has to put a bit more swerve on it to get it inside that upper 90. Once again, you just feel like there is something here for Defiance.
And you're right, about 6'1". So maybe 2-3 inches between the great Honduran striker, one of the top 5 scorers in the Honduran national team's history, and he. Burt Gilroy continuing. That ran out.
It should be a foul bringing this back here. The referee gets it right.
Indeed. Ride Strand stands over the ball. Out of Creighton, there's a handful of players with Creighton backgrounds that have circulated around the league these past few years. Which happens when you're a good program, and historically they are just that. I know I'm talking, you know, to a Nebraskaman.
Yeah, it's the Omaha love right there.
Ride Strand, and that's caught. Hey, Dev, you and I'll be ready for this one. Tune in, ESPN 3, July the 17th, Wednesday Night Soccer continues. North Carolina FC and Loudoun United, July 17th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN 3. NCFC near the top of the East. On United, struggling a bit, but the affiliate of DC United in their expansion season. Putting together a nice home venue. Chang. Now, Dev, if you're Real Monarchs and you get a win today, you're in 6th place. 15 points out of 15 can do that.
Go figure that in the Western Conference, the way it's wild, so tightly knit together.
It's enough for Anthony Burt Gilroy.
Marlon Vargas, the Academy product, get an opportunity to once again continue his push in the talking points for Chris Little. All the experience they're looking to pump into these youngsters.
9 games last year, was the Golden Ball winner at the GA Cup, which is a magnificent accomplishment for a young player in this country. Comes out wide, Hines. Meanwhile, Tacoma is at 12 points out of the final playoff spot. Well, it's not over. This 3-game homestand goes the wrong way, dumped over the top. That is a Tacoma foul.
And the way things are going, though, it does make you wonder, really, especially like what we were talking about coming out of the Open. We referenced it earlier with that wasted opportunities. We said 0-4-3, where they had been within 1 goal with 20 minutes to go. That's not necessarily the case this evening, but if they get an opportunity to close out, let's say 4 of those, turn 4 of those into wins out of 7.
Yeah, changes everything.
Everything. Now you're at 12 extra points. You're at 23 points. You're sitting right at the playoff line. And how about this? Look who's coming back. Jack Blake, from that leg injury he sustained about 7 weeks ago. Made his way back, and awesome to have Englishman back on the pitch.
And a former star of sorts of the Blake down. He gave you some of your telestration ideas.
I bet you he didn't. Nah, he's a talented individual who you kind of turned your head a little bit last year when the Rowdies made the move between he and Real Monarchs and went, wow, you were willing to do what? But credit to Real Monarchs for recognizing the talent and trying to nurture it a bit more. Unfortunately, picked up that injury, but a guy who really knows how to control the middle of the field.
Corner coming. Eventually, I don't envy the job being done here right now. Michael Radchuk. There's the corner. Steered out. Chang! Bouncing ball. Came out to Hines. Leading Buana. If he can get his head up, he could have had a chance to run the other way. It broke down as he was swarmed. Ball comes to Plua. Oh, that's excellent. Dropping it for Arriaga. If he hits that on the first time, it's on SportsCenter. Mulholland. And Plua will make the long and tragically uneventful run back to his spot.
The head turner of a flick right up over the center backs. Time just stood still for a second. We're wondering if you're going to be able to get an opportunity to get a body on the end of it.
He made you proud there, didn't he, a center back?
Brilliant stuff coming out of the right center back.
What happened before and after wasn't nearly as impressive. Martinez deflects over to Jack Blake. Martinez! Martinez! What a way to secure a hat trick! Douglas Martinez taking the spotlight.
Now we had to wait 31 minutes in between his goal off the lovely play from Joseph Okumo in the 36th minute until he netted again on his second strike.
Is he being told that he's done for the night? His name's on the card. That's devastating.
About to head down, frustrated from Douglas Martinez, but what a curtain call. A lovely exit as we break it down from the Blake down. Jack Blake stepping on. He actually started this movement going forward. Now an opportunity to make his mark. Hat-trick in 76 minutes in such a manner that he did so. Lovely strike to finish this off. Just the tiniest bit of spaces to hit this. Deflection coming off Jonathan Campbell. Lovely first touch out in front. Second one's with the instep to the right side of Trey Muse. And just brilliantly set up. You cannot say enough about the first touch from the Honduran. Lovely shift put in by Douglas Martinez this evening.
Josh, way too much space. Be disciplined.
What a night for Real Monarchs, and well, truth be told, this has been the way things have gone for Tacoma of late. 14 games winless, staring them right in the face right now. Earlier this year, they actually had the fastest goal in championship history. Justin Dillon only came away from that game with a draw. I mean, there have been some moments over the last 102 days where you just felt that they were going to finally get a win, and eventually you do have some semblance of despair for the players, for the coaches. Expect better of themselves. It's been difficult. Cross through, came down to Hines. And a lot of what Seattle does with Tacoma is next level thinking in how they're trying to build the organization within the Washington culture. The Sounders Discovery Program, you and I learned a lot about the ICC Futures Tournament last year where they performed really well. You look at how many players have found their way from Tacoma into the squad at CenturyLink Field.
Well, there's a reason that you can actually step outside of the organization and see success for these players that are getting reps with their respective U.S. youth national teams. And a lot of times you can catch 3, 4, 5 of them on the field at once for the Tacoma Defiance. Other players, I know this is going back a few years, but guys like Shannon Hopiau, who back in 2014 was invited to Real Madrid camp where he was actually considered one of the top 36 players in the world. And so it's not just one organization seeing that. These are multiple levels of respect shown globally to these players. And an opportunity with Brendan Burke, the coach from Bethlehem Steel, who's under the umbrella from Philadelphia Union, said, look, the way that we're trending organization-wide, switching our system and going with the youth movement, to be honest, we're following suit with Tacoma Defiance and what they're doing. And yes, it's a bit more difficult when the results start to slip, but you're still gaining dividends on the backside of things where you're promoting yourself from within. You're no longer having to go out and spend in transfer windows when you can bring guys up through your academy system.
Blake off the back heel, Karam's out. Blake a second time curling over.
How about the shout by the manager? That's Emerson Olave, you can hear in the background, up 4-0, 10 minutes to go. He's not done coaching. Much like the added movements necessary for the youngsters at Tacoma Defiance, Emerson Olave wants to make sure that his squad stays compact and maintains this 0, something they really haven't been able to do on a regular basis over the course of this 2019 campaign, looking to do so as they did against New Mexico United. Prior to that, they hadn't had a shutout for quite some time. You have to stretch all the way back to the opening month where they trounced Los Angeles Galaxy 2, 5-0. Outside of that, only other one before that was El Paso. So something that's not necessarily in their wheelhouse, and you better believe former defender of the year Olave would like to regain a bit of confidence in that area.
Played over to Chang. Chang. Now, on July 9th, earlier this week on Tuesday, there's a feasibility study that was conducted, a 3-part concept for Pierce County and for the city of Tacoma to look at a state-of-the-art soccer-specific stadium, similar to what Harriman has done, similar to what Loudoun United has done. Of course, the added benefit is that stadium would also play host to Reign FC of the National Women's Soccer League, and I desperately and loudly hope that fans of the Defiance and the Monarchs, similar to the Sounders and RSL, support Utah Royals FC and Reign FC as they return from the World Cup with a multitude of U.S. women's national team and global superstars. But all that in mind, they're talking a $300 million complex in Tacoma to help raise the future stars. Blake played through. Blake, oh, that's an excellent touch. He'll take that. Welcome back, Jack Blake. 5-0 to the Monarchs.
We gave a shout to the energy being brought on Joel Rydstrand for Tacoma Defiance, but the comeback tour in full effect for Jack Blake. Coming back from that injury-ridden 2019 campaign. We see you, buddy. That's five different dance moves. We respect all of them. However, Blake had some moves of his own. Watch the little stunner right at the top of the 18. Not there, right there. You apologize, Blake. You put the center back down, but never out. Lovely step through. One more look at it, comes back across. Woo! My apologies, Nick Hines. Got to keep the head on a swivel, buddy. When your momentum's coming across your body, it's always going to be cut behind you. Lovely recognition by Jack Blake, bringing it back across and tucking it away for the 5th of the night for the Real Monarchs.
Buana. Anywho, beautiful stadium in Salt Lake area. And I do hope that Tacoma will be home to a shining new venue for the future of the women's professional game. And those players that are on their way to big things globally, perhaps. The Seattle area continues to develop great young players. The future of soccer in the Pacific Northwest. And fans, the USL, it unveil its elite youth platform, USL Academy. Allows clubs at all levels across the USL to develop its local youth. Compete at the highest level across the USA, including the USL Academy Cup. More information, visit uslsoccer.com/academy. These are two very different approaches, but two very unique and interesting approaches to building up homegrown players. The Casa Grande Academy in Arizona, this beautiful new complex in Utah. Moberg, oh, it's lifted over, lashed at, flies over the bar by Atundi. And Tacoma and Seattle going through that discovery program where a lot of players will come in to U14 to U17 level and get a few weeks with the Sounders every year.
Both of these squads at the early portion of their seasons when they're going through the preseason repetitions will quite honestly invite a lot of youngsters to come to camp with them, give them shouts in preseason games, silly what they're made of with some of the bigger boys, not only within their respective organizations, but from afar as well. And we've seen that prosper nationwide, where you get guys that get a rep at, 2017, and then 2 years later, the next thing you know, they're making 10, 15 starts for their upper-tiered squad.
And beg your pardon, earlier, at U12 to U14, is where they'll allow players to play for individual clubs.
And then bring them in.
And then bring them in. The first full-time team for the Sounders is the U15s. They want to make sure that soccer remains strong across a multitude of clubs in the area. I think it's a pretty intelligent concept. So in the grand scheme, maybe you have a month with the team, but it's interspersed over the course of the year. Bring that level back. 3 minutes plus stoppage to go here. Is untouched en route to Putna. The fans are rooting for 6 goals. Sixth goal tonight would be the 50th allowed by Tacoma this year. Chang. Devin, you can bring your pups to the pitch. It's the switchbacks on August 2nd.
I'm pretty sure my boys would cause a bit of havoc to the groundskeeping crew here. I'm not into picking up divots anymore. I had to do that when I was on the reserve squad. Help out, go earn my keeps. Everybody thinks it's in the boot room polishing. It's much more than that, trust me.
2D. There's Muse. I know an English Bulldog that is not interested in pups at the park night. Shouldn't be much stoppage time in this one, despite the score line. Poked all the way through, then recovered by Okumu. Blake, arms extended, wants the ball at his feet. He'll allow that through. Devin, if you're Real Monarchs, we heard it time and time again. The message was clear. If you think today is going to be easy, you're going to get surprised. You're going to struggle. And in the first half especially, Real Monarchs put their stamp on this game. A deserved win.
You would say from start to finish, outside of the 10 minutes at the start of the second half.
Yeah.
Really felt like Tacoma Defiance did a good job coming out of the dressing room, just letting the home squad know they weren't going to shy away from the challenge. Unfortunately, some of the form slipped away from them, and to the tactical changes within personnel, a lot of energy brought in from both squads and just couldn't finish it off.
No stoppage time, that's it. Real Monarchs, perfect 5 straight wins, 5-0 victory. Blake the cherry on top in his return. A hat trick for Douglas Martinez. And the Monarchs are 6th in the Western Conference. We'll wrap this one up with your hat trick hero when we return. What a present Douglas Martinez offers the fans. Jack Blake is back on the score sheet, long overdue. The captain returns, and the first hat trick in team history belongs to Martinez on what was termed Christmas in July in Harriman. 5-0 to the Monarchs as we wrap up this Friday night edition of Wednesday Night Soccer. Devin Kerr, Mike Watts, here we go. Full-time highlights. 5 goals to show you, and we begin in the 8th minute of play. Magic number 8. Michael Chang, his 8th of the season. A lot of work came into this.
Well, notice what they do on the defensive side of things, where it's just a one little step up in the middle of the field. Very well done by the youngster Peña, and then no cause for concern. Nice little touches right at the top of the 18. Chang brings it back across his body after the no-look by Cashier. Goes near post on Troy Muse, makes him pay. Have to wonder, as we mentioned before, does the Sun play a position in this strike? Bit difficult for the goalkeeper regardless. Can't get enough on it. Goes on the underside of the bar. They're out in front by 1. What would happen down the stretch would just turn into some really impressive play, to be honest. I love this coming out of the back. It's methodical. It's slow, but it's thought out. Notice they wait for a little step by Tacoma Defiance. As soon as they start to spread themselves on the backside, quick little look up, long ball over the backside as the outside back had gotten too high, and just off to the races. Martinez, great header out in front. Both he and Chang showcasing their ability to utilize their bodies in the appropriate manner. Far post, 2-0.
And it would not end there. It was 2-0 at the break. Sun goes down, can't blame that now. Douglas Martinez, the hold-up play. Monarchs off to the races. Arriaga teeing it up. And ultimately, this ball skitters out. Brilliant finish by Martinez.
Really felt bad here, to be honest. The tackle, everything had done right for Tacoma Defiance. Just sometimes it's not your night, and that's kind of where this ended in the second half. We gave them a nod for about 20 minutes. Just couldn't continue on. Deflection went outside. Martinez, right place, right time. Still had to finish it off. Brought it back across his body. Muse once again couldn't get away from it. This one given away by Jonathan Campbell. Drops right in front of the Honduran again. And it's the first touch out in front. Comes back across his body. That sets up the strike that can pick out that far side. Muse left out to dry. He would then have a curtain call, say goodbye, thank you very much. And if it was going to be a feel-good story, it had to be Jack Blake. Great dissecting run of the middle of the back line. Little hesitation. Maybe takes a little touch here, but regardless, well done. Great reception by Jack Blake, and he puts them out in front by 5. They get another win. That's 5 in a row. One of the only teams in the Western Conference right now keeping pace with Phoenix Rising. Lovely 3 points.
And young Carlo Cosley gets up off the bench and makes his way through downtown Salt Lake in the distance. As we look at the full-time match stats, Tacoma only had 1 shot in the first half, so it was definitely better by them, but the Monarchs ran them over tonight.
It was difficult, and that's what it is. And you want to give credit to Chris Little's squad because there were moments. There were moments that they were able to showcase their young athletic ability. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to really counteract what the Real Monarchs were showing. That's what happens when you get guys that are on the field together on a regular basis. We said that over the past 4 matches, make it 5, that Real Monarchs really started a smaller rotation. That was on full display. Everybody firing on all cylinders.
Here's the upcoming schedule for Wednesday Night Soccer. Yes, we are back on Wednesday night. North Carolina playing host to Loudoun United, and a chance in Cary for us to get a good look at Dave Sarakin. Well, Real Monarchs look the part. Excellent job. Leo celebrating. Tacoma just can't put it all together. Our producer, Abu Ahmed, director, Juan A. Fever, Lydia Maria Escalante, and of course, all-star Skeeter Blue, Devin Kerr alongside. Mike Watts saying, thanks for watching Wednesday Night Soccer. Monarchs, hat trick, and more. 5-goal winner. 5 wins in a row. Good night.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.